And let there be light. Finally, the sun rising in the mother city. It's been a little bit dark throughout the course of the morning. We only just started to see the sun rays over the Cape Town International Convention Centre not too long ago. Yep, we're coming to you live from the mother city. Thank you so much for joining us. Gender issues and science coming to the fore today. Now, what if I told you that there is a direct correlation between what we're seeing on the ground and science? Many people think, science and research and technology very aloof and got nothing to do with some of the social ills that we're seeing here. But as my next guest, Dr. Naledi Pandor, is going to share with us, there is a link, and in fact the two have an often symbiotic relationship. Doctor, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning. I'm still Ms. Pandor because I have to get that PhD, but I have honorary doctorates. Don't use them though. But morning to you and to your viewers.
Shall we settle for Minister?
Yes, that'll be absolutely.
That will do. I think perhaps because I know you are a wealth of information, I've bestowed on you that title. But Minister, let's now talk about this relationship between poverty alleviation, for example, and the world of science and technology.
Well, of course, scientists always want to be cautious about thinking of science as only finding solutions, because there's also that level of science which imagines that which hasn't been thought of before. But certainly from our perspective, we're very keen to invest in science that helps us to solve some of the challenges that we have both in our country as well as on the continent. We have huge challenges of food security in a world where there is climate change, where there is more drought, where we need to have different kinds of seeds, where we need to produce more trees in order to increase the levels of oxygen available and reduce negative emissions. So we look to science to help us solve our disease burden problems and all the many, many issues that we must address. We also look to science in the humanities and social sciences to help us answer some of the problems we have of perception, attitude, why we have xenophobic attacks, how we integrate communities and individuals who might not be familiar with each other. All of these can be assisted through well-crafted, well-designed, well-supported research efforts.
That relationship also between physical or natural sciences and social sciences was also something that we've discussed throughout the course of this morning that has been incredibly informative. But I would like to speak now about the participation of the respondents or the participants. There's been a turn now in science in making sure that there is a co-generation of knowledge, I think it's what it's termed, where ordinary people actually buy into the science and participate more than just being passive respondents.
Absolutely. The practice of research, especially in poor communities or in a context of a developing society, was often very intrusive and very, very impolite, discriminatory. People were made to feel that they are objects of study rather than persons who could contribute to knowledge. This has shifted positively, I think, but much more needs to be done. We still continue to carry out some research initiatives without providing proper explanation, without explaining concepts. Science is very difficult, and it has practices that are foreign to many of us. When you conduct an experiment, there's a method attached to it. There's a set of processes. So it's something that is not entirely easy to become part of, and hence I think the researcher has to be taught the ethics of conducting research, the ethics of engaging individuals and communities. In particular, when you deal with experimental medicine in the health field, really you can't just make people part of a clinical trial without them fully understanding the consequences of the work that you're doing, or in fact agreeing with full knowledge and ethical protection from you, the researcher. But this co-generation of knowledge is becoming much more, I think, of a practice and an objective, certainly within the science community. And I know as young people engage in postgraduate study, they are taught about the ethics of research and how you engage with individuals and communities.
Indeed, it can be a potential human rights issue. Minister, let's now speak about the role of women. I know you're a champion in making sure that women take part in scientific platforms and in careers, but also the involvement of women as respondents, research respondents. We've just been speaking to one or two of the previous guests, and they spoke about how, because it's such a male-dominated industry, even sometimes the people who are tested for whatever medication will be male, and perhaps the toxicity of women or women when they're pregnant, etc., are not factored in. So let's speak about now the myriad of issues that are involved when women are active in science.
Well, the subject we're to discuss here is how do we engender science practice in the world? Do we pay enough attention to the fact that there's another gender, women, who need the support of the research that we invest in? And I think I'm very excited that we're gathering women scientists here, one, to understand the barriers they're confronted with, but two, to really push this message of engendering our work and ensuring that gender equity and participation by women is a strong part of what we do, and also that we need to shift our attention as we carry out research toward looking at what is the impact of this particular practice on women. How do women experience the various areas that we seek to study, even the drugs we wish to introduce, the service we wish to provide? We might all think that introducing information communication technology is a great benefit, but if women don't have access to it, then it's not a benefit to society, because they're the larger part of society. And so when we ask them to help children at home to study, if they don't have access in the home, or if they don't have the knowledge of how to utilize that technology, we've left women out. So we're hoping that we're going to push far greater attention to this whole aspect of gender equity and how it should come into play as we carry out our scientific work.
You touched on this particular aspect a little bit earlier in your answer, but let's talk a bit more about science or technology and governance. We can talk about both natural sciences or social sciences. How do they impact or assist government in running the affairs of the country better?
Well, one of the areas that we're very keen to support as science and technology is, of course, innovation. We hope that the research we support will lead to the development of new products or new innovation. If our institutions that perform science pay greater attention to innovation, they'll help us to address a lot of the social as well as other problems that we confront in society. Greater innovation would contribute to the economy, for example, will create jobs for young people. If we support young people to develop South Africa-focused apps, as young people did with the Say No to Xenophobia campaign last week, these young people then begin to generate income, which makes them entrepreneurs that are no longer a burden to society. So I think science can play a role in addressing our health problems, our economic issues. It can have results for us with respect to improved education performance, as well as gathering data that helps government to make policy decisions. Because one of the things we must avoid on the continent is making decisions on the hoof. Sort of saying, oh, there's a problem out there, Naledi must imagine a solution and then say this is going to happen. We need evidence-based decision making, and it is your researchers, it's your science community that assists you with that evidence.
Love it. Thank you so much. And I'm passionate about anthropology, and that's a part of the social sciences where you go to the ground and you seek solutions that are driven by the people as to exactly what it is they want. All right, more in just a moment. Stay right where you are.